What I want to do for you in this video is I want to walk you through exactly how I coach my clients through their approach anxiety. So if you know who I am, my name's Christian and I help dateable men remove their social blocks so they can stop living like closet heterosexuals, because this might be how you're feeling right now. Even though you're in shape, even though you've got money, even though you dress well, even though your life is going well on paper, every time you see a beautiful woman who you want to start a conversation with, you do what every other guy does, which is talk yourself out of it, experience failure in advance, reject yourself on her behalf. And then whilst you're playing these mental gymnastics, she disappears into the crowd, never even knowing you existed. And you end up replaying this moment over and over in your head. You find it difficult to concentrate on work. You're in the gym and you're thinking about the approaches that you didn't do. And the fucked up thing for a lot of guys is this is how the majority of their life plays out. The majority of men today are living dating lives of quiet desperation. You already know dating apps are making you average. You already know you don't want to be spending all your time in grotty nightclubs. Maybe you're like my clients where you've got location independence, so you don't have a social circle you can get women through. So you're probably going to get to the realization that I got to in 2020. In 2020, I was low on confidence. I looked like a turnip. I dressed like a moron. I was working a dead-end job for minimum wage. And I had this overwhelming sensation that I was capable of more. I was capable of more with the women who I was getting. Historically, I'd always settled for the women I thought I could get rather than going after the ones I actually wanted. And for me, daytime cold approach wasn't just a way to get the women I knew I was capable of getting. It was a way for me to develop true core confidence. Through daytime cold approach, through overcoming my approach anxiety, I was able to leave my 9-to-5 job. I was able to build this personal brand on YouTube. I was able to solo travel to over 30 different countries, start training martial arts in 2024. I'm now in a long-term relationship with a beautiful woman, all because of daytime cold approach. So when my clients first reach out to me, a lot of times they are stuck in the closet of heterosexuality. They have been brainwashed by the brain dead into thinking it's wrong to start conversations with women. They have been brainwashed into thinking they should be going to nightclubs, they should be outsourcing their balls, their confidence, their sovereignty to rigged algorithms. But you already know this shit doesn't work. It's keeping you average. Your dating life is as dead as a fucking dodo. But maybe when you're out there and you're trying to approach, you feel a lot of resistance. You feel a lot of apprehension. You might feel as though you've got this dirty secret. Yeah, you might have been brainwashed into thinking approaching women is wrong, it's creepy, you shouldn't do that. When I'm working with my clients, whether it's online, one-on-one, or in person, one-on-one, the first belief that I install into their minds is there is nothing wrong, there is nothing shameful, there is nothing creepy about approaching women. All cold approach is talking to people. Yeah, for me, what is creepy is walking outside, checking women out, but not doing anything about it. What is creepy is going into nightclubs, waiting until 2 a.m. to approach women who are too drunk to think. What is creepy is meeting up with strangers on dating apps, strangers who don't even look like themselves. Yeah, AI has totally flattened the playing field. Everyone's profile looks the same. You don't even know who's real anymore. So the first thing that I make my clients aware of is if you do feel this apprehension to approach women right now, if you think it's wrong, if you think too many steps ahead, the only intention you need to have today is every single woman who you approach, leave that woman better than you found her. Nobody is allergic to a compliment. And the one analogy that unlocks the dating lives that my clients are now living, because when my guys work with me, I take my guys from struggling to even start conversations with attractive women to now having dates on demand with wife-worthy women in every city that they visit. And this doesn't happen by luck, it happens by design. It happens because I install the analogy that imagine one day you're walking down the street. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see a beautiful woman drop her phone on the floor. Now imagine picking up that phone and returning the phone back to her. In that moment, would you feel any anxiety? Probably not. Why? It's because you feel as though you've got value to give that person. And it's the same when you're approaching women as well. Rather than seeing yourself as the taker, what I want you to start doing when you're out there in your city center and you see beautiful women who are walking past you, see yourself as the giver. Go out to make these women feel beautiful, desired, and sexy. Understand, there is nothing wrong or creepy about approaching women. For me, what is creepy is not approaching women, is having the intention to approach, to start a conversation, to leave that woman better than you found her, but not doing anything about it. So when I'm in person with my guys, before we even do any approaches, because I understand how overwhelming it can feel at first, especially if you're one of my private coaching clients, you've invested thousands of dollars into my expertise. You might have flown halfway across the world to be in person with me. I know how overwhelming this can all feel at the start. So before we even do any approaches, I congratulate my guy for doing something the majority of men are never going to have the balls to do. And I make him aware that when you're first approaching, understand there is nothing wrong and there is nothing creepy about doing this. See yourself as the giver of magical experiences. Now, here's the important part. Once my guys have started doing those first approaches, I make them aware of the importance of volume, all right? Every single guy underestimates the importance of volume. You might be in a position right now where you can approach, but you're not doing enough approaches when you're actually out there in the field. Maybe you're doing what a lot of guys do, which is 1 approach a day or 5 approaches a week. When I'm in person with my guys, we are doing at least 35 approaches in a single afternoon. Because what happens is when you're out in the field and you're doing over 10, 20, 30 approaches, what's happening is you're staying out long enough for the momentum to kick in. The reason why just doing 1 approach doesn't work, it's kind of like going to the gym and leaving after the warm-up, or it's kind of like going to the gym and stopping the set as soon as it starts to get painful. You're not truly pushing yourself, because part of the reason why you're attracted to daytime cold approach, you might be similar to me, where you don't just see it as a way to bring higher quality women into your life with more consistency than dating apps can ever give you, but you also see it as the most aggressive form of self-development. Because this is how I see this entire process. When you're out here and you're approaching women, despite the fear, despite the sedation, despite the compliance, despite giving a flying fuck what these NPCs thinking of you, you are investing into the identity of the man who you want to embody. The man who is already there, he's just buried under bullshit, in the same way that every guy's already got a six-pack. It's just buried under a layer of fat. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you are a visionary creative, if you're a guy who knows deep down he's capable of more than he's currently doing, daytime cold approach will explode the entirety of your existence. Because when you're out here and you're in the field, let's say you're in person with me and we're doing 35 approaches together, I've seen this with so many of the guys who I've worked with. By the end of that first day, where they've been pushed into more approaches in one day than the majority of men are ever going to do in their entire lives, they'll turn to me and they'll be like, Christian, now I finally get it. Because the majority of my clients, they've been watching my content for months. They already know I'm legit. They already know I'm the best in the world when it comes to helping men such as yourself remove their social blocks. They've looked at all of my testimonials. The best clients who I work with now, they don't even need to schedule calls with me, right? They've been following my content for such a long time. They've developed this parasocial relationship where they feel as though they truly know me. They just DM me on Instagram, like, Christian, I've seen your content. I know you're legit. Send over the payment link. I'm ready to get started. These are the guys who get the best results because they minimize the time between thought and action. And when I'm in person with these guys, we get to the end of the day, they've been pushed into over 35 approaches. They are in a state that I call godly frequency, which is the removal of doubt. If you feel like a closet heterosexual right now, if you've been brainwashed by the brain dead into thinking it's wrong in some way to approach women, if you were in the field with me and I pushed you into over 35 approaches in a single afternoon, because 1 approach with me is worth around 30 approaches on your own, this is how we turn decades into days. Because when my guys are in person with me, I fit them with invisible wireless microphones, which means I can listen in to all their conversations. I can give them individually tailored feedback on how they're presenting themselves, how they're communicating, their vibe, their vocal tonality, their body language, their proximity. When you're out in the field and you're staying out there long enough for the momentum to kick in, so let's say you do 35 approaches, you'll be in this flow state of godly frequency where you can experience success in advance. And the problem that I see with so many guys is they go home before the momentum kicks in. One of my clients who I worked with at the start of this year, Cassius, before working with me, he'd been terrified of approaching women his entire life. And he got to 40. Yeah, he got to 40 years old and he reached out to me and he's like, Christian, I can't keep doing this anymore. I feel like a closet heterosexual. I see beautiful women who walk past me every single day, and I don't start conversations with them. I replay these moments over and over in my head. And then I see other guys who are nowhere near my level with hotter women than me. I don't know what to do. So at 40 years old, he did something that most guys his age would consider crazy. He met me in Barcelona for 3 days of one-on-one in-person coaching. By the end of these 3 days, right, 3 days, we undid 40 years of social conditioning. He had multiple dates lined up in a single day. He crushed his approach anxiety. He's now traveling the world, getting dates on demand with the women he always knew he actually deserved. And the only way this has happened is because we pushed him into more action than he'd ever taken in his entire life. So what I want you to do right now, if you feel like a closet heterosexual, if you feel as though you're capable of more than you're currently doing, maybe you're in this one approach a day trap where you're telling yourself you're making progress, you're telling yourself you're showing up, but for me, it's kind of like going to the gym for 3 years and your body has barely changed. Yes, you're showing up, you're putting in the reps, you are putting in some form of effort, but the problem right now is you still feel stuck, you still feel average with women. What I want you to do is there's a video that's just appeared on screen right now, and it shows you in detail how I actually allow my clients to overcome their approach anxiety.